Yeah, so very warm welcome everybody, Mr. Abid Ali, Sohel, and Pinkesh for this exciting discussion on digital transformation theme. Typically today we'll talk about technology impact, like how technology is helping for creating transformation. And we always seeing right industry 1.0 to industry 4.0, and we are in mid of now different kind of era, right? Post COVID, it's a quite pace is accelerated, and technology was a boon, right? If you would have seen this pandemic back in 2000, I think the situation would have been different, right? But today we are riding on different ecosystems, right? Which are really helping.
Prasanna, you're on mute, I guess.
Yeah, sorry. So I think these ecosystems are helping us to how do we really accelerate our journeys, which we have seen last 20-18 months. And it's a every organization has learned heavily, a lot of collaboration within organization, outside of organization. And if you could see learnings about myself or learning in last 18 months, 20 months, quite a lot of performance with the help of an internal team. But I think it's a story of every organization, right? Every organization has its own transformation curve, transformation orbit, right? And if I ask to start with Mr. Abid Ali, how do you feel, right, for your organization? You may introduce and followed by you can talk about your organization and brief about what is that for your organization considering transformation. Yeah, please.
Yeah, hi, good afternoon, everyone. Myself, Abdi Ali, I work for insurance organization Alilal Life. We are a life insurance and a medical insurance based out of Bharat. We have a branch office in Kuwait as well. Yes, digital transformation in last, as you rightly said, 18 months or more than that has been the core of our organization while we speak. We are internally doing some sort of transformation projects in terms of operations as well as the sales. We being an insurance, the hit was definitely for us because insurance, as you all know, is a push market. Nobody comes and buys product. And especially in this part of the world, it's still not that relevant. So for us, it has been a learning curve in terms of as an organization and in terms of technology. Yeah, we have moved a lot in the last 18 months. So I would say definitely it's a fast learning curve compared to what I had in my previous two stints in terms of digital transformation. I think maybe some other members can give.
Yeah, I think that's good, right? So example, in a banking ecosystem, there are different types of banks, right? So cooperative banks or digital first, some of those PTMs or some of those banks, or you talk about PSU banks, or there are tech heavy private sector banks like ICICI, SDFC. And at the same time, there are a lot of tech companies are coming, so called fintech companies, and their curve is always digital first. There are people always on digital culture, right? And it's very easy for them to implement some of those digital apps for a customer, right? If you look at some of those organizations, like if I ask them be on that curve, similarly the way, but they will have a lot of challenges, right? A lot of barriers and so on. So, Sohel, how do we feel? How do you see that? Suppose you talk about technology, right? What is a typical role of a technology during digital transformation? Although there are many other factors which are helping transformation, but I think technology plays very major and vital role. Yes, Sohel, please.
Yeah, I agree fully. But technology, what I've seen so far, and especially it should be the way forward, technology cannot do it alone. And that's a misconception. For example, you see the technology transformation, business says, great, but this is a show from the technology, they're not involved. And that change needs to happen, because before 20 years ago, we said, IT is running the system, supporting the business. And then 10 years ago or 5 years ago, we said IT is enabling the business. But if you see right now, IT is the business, technology is the business, right? So you cannot do it alone. And that's, that notion sometimes needs to land in some of the organizations. And I have worked in my career now for a few of major organizations like Emerson Airline, Emerson BD, and now FAB Bank. So that notion needs to land. Otherwise, the transformation will never achieve the the major successes that anyone needs to achieve. So, and then it's technology together with business, and also there is a data element that needs to come across the two sectors. These interplay of three major entities within an organization needs to play well together to achieve something. So the technology is okay, still has the responsibility of enabling business wishes and requirements and etc., but also with the new technologies, technology department has also a push responsibility, right? Push the new possibilities to the business, making them aware of the things that they even have not thought about before. So I think this is what needs to change, in my view, to make the transformations successful.
Yeah, I think great, Sohail. I think a very good beginning remark. I think we have now our friend Puneet who is also here. So Puneet, we were just discussing about every organization has a different curve, right, of a digital transformation. Some of them are already on digital first, some of them are in mid, or some of them have a lot of legacy people kind of challenges, right? Looking at that, Abid Ali has given his perspective of what his organization, how he's looking at. Maybe I'll move on to the Pinkesh, right? Pinkesh, you have heard Sohail, right? The importance of technology, right? But if you look at, there are many technologies, right? We have seen mobility, cloud now becoming normal technology. Right? We can't have any business model without mobile apps or internet, right? But in mid of 2021, right, or end of 2021, while you look at in next 2 to 3 years, what are those typical technologies are where you are concentrating as an organization?
Thanks, Prasanna. First of all, I'd like to introduce myself, Pinkesh Ambawat, working with CRIF India as a CIO. So it is very interesting question which you have asked, Prasanna. There are many organizations are talking about digital, but how digital is enabled, the technology behind digital, right? There are so many. First of all, I would divide this into 3 parts. One of them is data is oil, everybody knows. So, for us, how we can, create, a data warehouse or data mart using the technology like machine learning or big data, that is the technology which we are concentrating to, to massage the data, to create some real value from the data so that, we can create product out of that data. So these 2 technologies, which is AI, ML, precisely to create models, because we are, CRIF is an, credit bureau, so we are providing models, scores for various products. For example, BNPL, for example, PL score or housing loan score, various of scores we provide, right? So for that, now from the old process to we have migrated to machine learning, where models are created is based on machine learning, and then we are selling that into the market. Second is, when the data is created, you create products out of it, right? Now from the digital point of view, because it is based on a mobile app, the volume is, previously the loan origination or new credit card selling used to happen from the backend system. The bank user used to play with the LOS system and all, but now it has been gone to digital, which means that the end user is going to apply for all those things online, which means that your system should be ready to integrate with multiple players. So your system should be ready to handle that kind of a volume as well, right? So for that, we are working with the cloud-based technology, so that whatever application we are developing has to be cloud ready as well. That has to be compatible with multiple cloud as well. So that's the second vertical which we are evaluating. And the third is, we have to be ready with the APIfication, which means that our services should be consumed by just integrating the APIs. For example, it can be and then move it to more JSON based integration rather than more the old technology like XML based. So those kind of 3 verticals which we have targeted, and we are doing a lot of adopting this technology. Also in APIfication, also microservice architecture which we are adopting, so that we can provide better services to our client as well. So these are the main segments which we are working right now. I would tell you in different segments to make sure that we are digital ready and our client can consume all our services.
Yeah, I think Pinkesh very rightly, instead of naming only 3 technologies, you elaborate how these 3 technologies are working together, right? So cloud, or along with the big data, and along with API or microservices. And I think it's a need of every organization now, although we have done with the mobility or some of those social media, or we're done with the web apps. Typically, API is a now need, right? And understanding our data is a need. And moreover, while we are on such a versatile customer and such a demand, right? We have to have on a cloud kind of a thing. And maybe in the future, edge computing, quantum computing, or 5G wearable, many new technologies are coming in. And based upon type of organization, we have to take some risk, experiment, and adopt. So I think we'll move on to Puneet is here. So we'll understand how she is driving a digital playbook, right? So example, if she has to drive a digital transformation playbook for her organization, what all things she will cover and say, this is the first chapter, this is the second chapter, we should go step by step. Yeah, over to you, Puneet. You are a veteran in this area. Would like to hear more views about this. Yeah. On mute. You're on mute.
Yes, I got it. Thank you. Good evening to all my viewers and all my co-panelists. Thank you for the opportunity, B2B. So very well point touched in terms of digital transformation, Prasanna. So if you can just agree that the last 10 years of digital transformation and post-pandemic, it is just 1 year of transformation is equivalent. If you want to have a deciding factor, decade versus 1 year post-pandemic, right? That is the kind of digital transformations and the readiness in terms of organizations have gone through. Now, secondly, as far as the digital transformation for any organization, this is the need of the hour. We cannot survive without it. And even without us, the customer is also quite tech savvy today. Even if though they are not ready, so self-service model or probably basically, you know, the assisted based transaction is the new hype. Basically, where, you know, B2B kind of services is being extended to the any kind of investments or any kind of portfolio that is being extended in terms of a banking professional or in BFSI space. So touching the point that digital transformation for an organization is a tech. So tech is business. And if you are not a part of business, then definitely it will be start working in silos. The way the traditional approach of and a modern day technology or a digital innovation department has a conversion, which is a BAU, and the transformation has to coexist together, because business cannot stop and the legacy applications cannot stop. Transformation it has to be at the same pace. If you are not cutting edge, go to you lose the show. So what exactly is the adaptation to these is one is definitely a convergence of a definitely technology taking a front shift into the business, becoming the change agents in terms of driving technology or a digital transformation. Secondly, a convergence of people, process, technology, and data, which is whether it is at rest, at motion, or whatever, whether it resides for internal employees data, whether it resides outside as far as your customer perspective is concerned, or a regulatory aspect of it is there. So it's a 360-degree approach of conversion that has to be done. Now coming forward, that how this has to be enabled, or probably an automation journey has to reinitiate. So it differs from organization to organization. It doesn't mean if you have done digital transformation for one organization and it has been thought through and coming out good. So each company has their whims and fancies. So unless there are regulatory aspect of it, which definitely is the need of the hour, you need to deliver that on top priority. But as a part of the total pyramid, what we have is the information and cybersecurity, without which also we cannot move around. So customer 360, when we talk about how are we taking the shape in way want to putting the hosting of the data, whether it is in-house, it is on-premise, or it is a hybrid approach, or on the cloud methodology, then probably in terms of ensuring that it is in a proper way, it has to be hosted in the home country localization so that there is no compromise. It cannot go outside the countries. Then there are certain technologies which talks about total manual intervention gets substituted, something like artificial intelligence, which gives you a smart intelligence for the decision engines and rule engines which get defined for the business to take their decisions in terms of faster decisions. At the at the granular level, I can say robotics process automation taking its own shape in terms of conversions, in terms of Excel uploads, and the bygone days acceptance that technology only used to be done. So there has to be Automation, customization, and development, this all go hands in hand. Unless we are not ready to address those pain areas, I think so, then no amount of digital transformation will be successful. If the base is not ready, then we cannot put more and more stories to it. So the base has to be very, very robust, so that n number of things, what come what may, irrespective, the house is able to stand any kind of repercussions. That is what is my would talk about digital transformation.
Yeah, I think quite well covered up a lot of pillars, which are those important aspects, right? Business, technology, moreover, cybersecurity, compliance. Yeah, it's like a digital transformation, like a journey. You can't say that, yeah, this is what I have delivered and I'm fully compliant on digital transformation. Done. I will not do anything. So I think it's not that way. Maybe Abid Ali, I think Abid Ali at Al Hilal, where you are there, I think since last 5-6 years, right? And it's an opportunity for any CXO or any digital officer or any decision maker to be there at organization for a longer period to understand organization more better. Organization people, organization processes, organization aspirations, which helps to drive a better digital transformation journey. This is what my personally I see. So what was your experience, right? While driving this, you must have seen a lot of challenges, barriers, enablers. Would like to highlight so that our viewers, listeners will take care of that during their transformation journey. Yeah.
Sure. Yeah, as you rightly said, the more the time you spend in an organization, you get more clarity in terms of how the organization is behaving, what is the DNA of the organization, and what is the thought process of the senior management as well as the people around it. So when we started our journey sometime last year, around June, July, we started focusing on three main things, to look at it, being as part of a group entity as well. So we had a journey over there. So we had said that, okay, three things that we'll have to definitely look into it. One is the technology part of it, so that when we move, we supposed to have a technology which will help us at least not a year or two, at least next 5 years is bare minimum that we look at it to support us in terms of scale up and on those factor as well. Second thing was the internal processes, because some of the things which at times kills the entire initiative could be a process where there is documentation needed, where there are some regulatory requirements and stuff like that. And third part, the key important element is the people. So you may change the entire process or you may automate everything, but the most important part is the people and the thought process of the people internally, who's going to get impacted because of the entire process automation that's going to happen. So we took these three main things into consideration when we started our initial project phase, and while we are moving on, we are tackling those things as and when we move to those places. So I think these are the three things which definitely will help.
Yeah. So Sohail, do you agree with Abid Ali, or you have some more additional views?
Well, no, of course, when you start to talk about any transformation, you have to have those elements, the hygiene of your tech capability, modernization of that tech capability. You need to invest in, streamlining your processes, alignment, and removing of the silos, and also the people aspect, in terms of, the engagement, but also about the resource skills, right? If you have, gap in your skills, whether you have to train them, whether you recruit, and etc. One element that I want to add to this is that change mindset, which is far more difficult than the three previous one. Yeah, you can change the technology, you can have the right processes, you have the right people to do it, but if the mindset doesn't change, you are doing it still with the old, ways that you have done always before, and that mindset doesn't change during 1 or 2 years of transformation. It should be something that you put in place for years to come. And what I want to add to the whole, transformations, as my colleagues here in the forum said, it's all about, those elements that you need to change, but all of those elements should result in your enterprise agility. and adaptiveness to change, right? Because tomorrow you will have a compliancy regulation. After tomorrow, there's a security patch you need to do. The day after, you need to have a product as soon as possible, ASAP. But whatever comes in the next 2 years and whatever innovation and technology, emergence technology will be there, you need to make sure that your organization can adapt it to that as soon as possible. Or any demand from the customers, you need to have that capability, which most of large organizations are missing at the moment. You need to create that. All of whatever you do with the cloud migrations, the API, landscape that you are implementing, upgrading your core systems, putting the channels in a new jacket and everything. That's great, but meanwhile, make sure that you can do it, repeat that over and over and over again, and in every iterations you should learn. So that would be my addition to what my colleagues said.
Yeah, totally agree with you, Abid Ali and Sohail. And Pinkesh, I think you also had a very wide and long journey at CRIF, right? And where we must have seen a lot of versions of a CRIF, right? So, and a lot of best practices you must have adopted. Typically, maybe back 2014 when mobility was at peak, right? So everybody has started mobile apps, or maybe in the mid of 16, 17, everybody has started data strategies, right? And now people talk about more as a normal technology for AI, or some of those another new text must be coming in. And CRIP is a big data house, right? So how do you really adapt it, right? So if you have to adapt any of those emerging technology to make it normal technology, what was that whole adoption curve or framework we have seen at CRIP? Yeah.
Sure. Thanks, Prasanna. So first of all, I agree with Sohail and Abadali what they have mentioned. Whenever we are doing any technology change or transformation, we have to keep in mind that regulatory requirements, because whatever you are going to do, you need to make sure that you are compliant with all the regulatory requirements. For example, you cannot adopt any open source technology in your production because you will not have security patches for that, right? So you have to make sure that whenever you are adopting any technology, is the license version or there is a security patches which is coming on regular basis. Otherwise, you are not compliant with your regulatory requirements. So for us, while doing that, we have always, so the way we divide our budget is 50, 30 and 20 ratio, which means that 50 for running the business, 30 for transforming the business, and 20 more on the R&D and all those things, right? So whenever we are doing that, we are making sure that the technology which we are going to adopt in next 2 years, we are doing some R&D on that, and we are allocating some POC budgets. We are allocating some budget on training our resources, which is because people will not be available in the market readily. You have to train our internal resources to change the mindset that okay, you have to learn this. We are going to adopt this technology in a couple of years. We will be looking forward to that. For example, big data technology which we adopted back in 2016. Okay. We started the journey around 2015, and we told our team that okay, we are going to move out of from traditional Oracle or SQL Server or regular RDBMS database. We will be moving to big data kind of an architecture, and that was a mindset change. There will be more of an learning curve for my team. So this is how we try to adopt it. For example, machine learning, right? We were creating models with using a SAS or R or those kind of world, right? But we adopted, okay, we will move to machine learning kind of a model creation for generate our credit bureau scores and all. Again, training. First, we started with our training. We have done some POC whether it is working with our regular traditional model, and then we adopted it. So there has to be a mindset. There has to be a thought process, and then the entire ecosystem should work. Which means that only technology cannot drive changes. It has to be business who should be ready to adopt the changes. It should be our operation team who should be ready to learn as well, right? So it's the company who should decide that we want to go this transformation path. And the necessity is because we are in a world where a lot of competitors are there. Fintechs are coming, right? They are also, digital data is coming, social data is coming. We are just using the financial data which we are receiving from banks and financial institutions. So for us, innovation is must. If we don't do that, we will be out of the game, right? So for that, we are getting a lot of support from internal stakeholders as well. But then it is a continuous process, I would say, Prasanna, and we should continue doing that. That's how we
I
are.
think fantastic. I think if somebody will really hear and they would be able to see, at least gain those knowledge, how do you really adopt a big data or kind of a thing with first of all, mindset change, right? People should know why we are doing it, and then evaluation of some partners, doing some proof of concept, learn from that in the small data and churn it or replicate or implement it for a bigger data. And it's a continuous process, certainly. Now, when you say it is a continuous process, and in this continuous process, since last 18-20 months, we have done a lot of processes, right? So I think Puneet will talk about your guidance, right? Banks have really adopted heavily on digital, right? As you rightly said, 1 month versus 10 months. Now, but while we do this journey, customer also have evolved. Customer who was not on digital, now he is doing on all those digital transactions. Moreover, asking banks or those insurance companies, don't you have that mobile app to onboard? And why are you taking so long time? Moreover, after onboarding, he's more agile and rather more hyper to ask hyper personalization kind of things, right? So I think the curve is changed for organization for sure, right? And there is more competition coming in parallel, fintechs and so on. So while you are looking at your transformation, what are those new targets or new areas you will cover or recover so that you sustain in the business and emerge as a more powerful in digital transformation? Yeah.
So very apt question asked, at least in this particular time, where, in the basically giving a personalized touch to the customers, personalization or Web 5.0, which is talking about hyper personalization, where the task is that, like, but just by clicking one piece on the mobile or any tab, probably, they should get a personalized services. So, the need of the customer, if digital companies have evolved, so are the customers who have evolved. Now, I feel that the customer is something they are evolved more as compared to, in terms of like whichever companies that they're dealing with, in terms of their day-to-day banks, or they're doing the financial transaction with, or they're transacting with, probably in their stockbroking, or a comparison they want for their health insurance and everything. So coming to the platform where I basically represent as a general insurance CTO, we see that the customer 360-degree is a very need of the hour, especially with regard to policy issuance, in terms of, and in terms of onboarding of a customer till their claim settlement, endorsements and claim settlements, which is really a need of the hour. It has to be a seamless journey, and it should be a single window of the system, especially with regard to a CRM perspective, where an agent who is speaking to the customer when he is doing his need analysis and understanding that what kind of portfolio he is having with us, and how he can be a generator as a prospect for other product lines which we can pitch in him. At the same time, when we talk about the customer perspective, when customer get the portfolio, he gets a complete comprehensive portfolio, that 360-degree view of his portfolio, understanding that if I have a motor, I have a health insurance, and if he is a banking customer, then how he can use different product or the things that the offering comes from the banking domain. So that could work like a product or cross-sell and upsell kind for an organization. So it's a win-win situation. So it becomes a comprehensive or a benchmark portfolio for a customer, which talks about that, we give them a seamless onboarding, do a customer, video KYC, and then probably we tell him that, through your QR code, you do all the integration and all, and you come. Now you are transact. You can see the policy comparison if it is in a broking environment, or if it is a product which is probably, he says that this is my 5 pointers for which I would require a family floater pack in terms of health or in terms of motor. What exactly is his area, what he's looking for? If we can customize those kind of products that the company is giving them on the fly, and that is the convenience that we are extending to our users. That is what is the personalization a customer is expecting today. And I think so we have started a journey. Probably I'm not talking about me as my company, but I think so India is very much starting in that journey. The talking about the Digital India or 5.0 as a hyper personalization, we are already heading towards journey. Social connect, or you talk about like the complete crawling, that probably certain tools that they're giving in terms of one console, that is something which is the need of the hour. So customers are really getting evolved there.
Yeah, I think new challenges and the overall pandemic has given new curve, right? So I think Abhidali, we agree with this, right? These are now new targets, new customer or customer will change, and how you are really looking at these new targets, right? Customer before 20 months was something else. Now today is something else, right? Yeah.
Yes, Prasanna, you're right. The customers have definitely evolved in last 18 months of time, especially the mid segment, like people between age of 30 to 40, 45 years, and even above, and the new millennials as well. If you look at it now, the new generation which is coming up, they have been doing schooling at least for a year online, which was never there as part of any curriculum. We never thought of school being online. That was never there. So yes, this have definitely changed the perspective of the customer, and I think another couple of years, maybe 5 years down the line, things might be very different in terms of customer onboarding. Your what we do even today, like what my the colleague said, kind of like we do video KYC. That might be again just go away another couple of years. You might just do a biometric thing on the phone, and done. You're onboarded the customer. And as she also said that you have this social media stuff at one console. So with AI ML, you can underwrite a customer with all those information available to you, and that's what it's needed at the end of the day. So yes, it is evolving, and I think another 5 years it will evolve even a faster rate compared to what it has been like last one decade for sure.
Yeah, yeah, very good. So, Sohail, over to you. Like, which are those top, say, example in 2021, while you were entering 2022, your attention, right? Which are those top 3, 4 technologies you will be attending and looking forward or researching around, right? Like Pinkesh does some kind of investment on research and make sure that we go with that overall COE path and adopt towards customer expectation or towards business expectation and so on. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, before answering that, I want to add something else to previous question. So, when you have seen before that customers were, using the applications and apps the way that whether it's useful, do I need it? Yes, but now they want to enjoy the experience as well, right? This is the expectations, the high expectations or high demand that I see from the customers, that easiness of the usage of the app and also enjoyable usage of the app is becoming more and more important for everyone. And they expect everything to be online. They don't want to go to branches anymore. If you, for example, me, if I'm talking to my bank and they say, yeah, you have to come to the branch to sort it out. I said, what? Why? Why can't I do it online? So that expectation maybe 2-3 years ago was not there, and is becoming more and more valid. And for us, I think we are setting in our organization the let's say foundational stuff that we need to do in technology to make that happen, right? And that foundational is very foundational. I'm talking about moving to public clouds. Of course, we have to deal with in our region with very strict regulations what we can put in a cloud, and the cloud should it be in somewhere in the world or in their own country and etc. So that transition is happening right now. We are upgrading our core systems where possible. We are putting new versions of our core banking system in place, and on top of that, we are trying to create these API gateways where you're implementing this layered architecture, that every layer on top of the other should be more flexible to make the age of delivery on the channels on the front part possible. And we are looking at our channels both on corporate banking and retail banking onto how we can compete with the new fintech companies. For us, being one of the biggest banks in the UAE, we don't necessarily look at our competitors, conservative banks as our competitors, but we are looking at the newcomers like they're not in the region yet, but Monobank, TransferWise, Revolut, those guys have the new ideas and they can make the straight through processes possible. And that's what we are missing. We have the benefit of customer base and the trust of our customers, but they are gaining ground very fast, right? So they are gaining more customers, client base is growing, and they are gaining the trust. So if we don't compete with their capabilities, eventually in few years' time, we might lose the battle. So that's our where our priorities lie.
I think this is a great view, right? So take care of your customers and listen them or engage with them, rather involve them in your transformation journey, right? So you may drive a lot of apps, you may do a lot of things around data, but if you are not listening to your customers, I think we'll really miss the bus the way others are asking customer to catch their bus, right? And Pankaj is sitting on huge data and he's looking at us with a smiling mind. What is that, Pankaj? Right? How do you really see this whole ecosystem, right? We have a trust taking banks or insurance companies, right, which are there since so many years together, and there are some new faces or new kids, rather new logos, right? So-called challenger banks or fintechs, and they say that you couldn't do much of digital transformation, but we are already on a digital first journey, right? But at the same time, this whole ecosystem, which is banking ecosystem, is a robust ecosystem. It is placed by regulator, right? And regulators also now doing a lot of transformation and asking banks to change or adopt more better ways to do banking or insurance, and with a better compliance and security. At times, these fintechs are not aware of compliance security. They have to deal or ask CISOs of those banks, how do we do that, right? They might have a good apps, they might have a good algorithm around digital marketing to take care of customers by onboarding them easily. But for a sustainable model, next 5 years, right? A lot of apps we see in the Indian ecosystem, right? They adopt so many customers and they are there, but how do you really see the overall sustainable model where today's, I think, web banking or maybe mobile banking, tomorrow's it will be a marketplace banking, right? Or something like a aggregation kind of a finance ecosystem where banking can be happen anywhere, out of bank, out of insurances. So how do you see the sustainable model, right? So at your organization, how you really look at this whole equation challenge, or is it an opportunity? Yeah.
I would say this is an opportunity, especially in COVID situation. I'll tell you why, because the traditional banks were not ready for digital journey. In COVID situation, you know that people were not able to go to the branch or not able to go to the bank, right? With this fintech coming into picture, they were already ready to onboard customer digitally, which means that I see a lot of collaboration happening between the fintech and the traditional banks. Because of the compliance, they cannot do a lot of things which the traditional bank can do, right? So I would say that origination happening on fintech, servicing happening on the traditional banking. This is how I would say the opportunity for both of them to collaborate. But over the 5 years, if you ask me, I don't know what the future of fintech. Traditional bank will take over. Okay, more or less, they have already started their digital journey. They are already working towards how they can, expedite their transformation journey. And in another 2 years, you will see most of the traditional banks have all the products which fintechs are providing, all the services which fintechs are providing. And from CRIF side, we have to be just ready. We have some products on origination which are digital. We are already in the market pitching on the same. At the same time, I think from the CRIF point of view, there are some more products. If you have to look at future point of view, marketplace is, of course, banks will come and say, okay, what kind of product you are looking for, and you can apply for that. At the same time, I see a future is robo advisory. For example, customer don't want to, for example, your financial, because of the account aggregator, right, coming into picture. Banks are tying up with for open banking, they're tying up with account aggregator and all. And then they are going to come up with products for using a robo advisory. So, those kind of future, enhancements, people are already started looking into it. And I think another 3-4 years, that is going to be, future for traditional banking as well. So I think right now they are just using the fintech as an opportunity. tying up with them. But in couple of years, I think the fintech might have some different future, but traditional banking will be more digital, and they will have everything to serve their customer without coming to branch. That's how I'm looking at it, Prasanna.
Yeah, I think great view, Pinkesh. And out of enthusiasm, out of excitement, fintechs or banks are doing so many things, right? And we have seen some models get successful, some model are a failure also. And these fintech have opportunity to collaborate with n number of banks. Suppose one bank is not really doing well, not supporting well, they have opportunity to move away and go to the next level, right? So this is a game of like trust and how do you bring on compliance, security, ultimately how better regulation can help. I think in Indian context, we have a lot of security guidelines or compliance guidelines. And last 6-7 years, we have seen how RBI or SEBI or IRD has really helped. I'm not saying challenging, but help to create, although your organization is doing digital transformation, fine. But these are the rules you should really take care of. So Puneet, do you feel these rules are really helping or enabling our barriers while you drive? Or how do you create that balance, handling those rules as well as those cyber securities and really giving that kind of a performance to the customers? Yeah.
So basically, first of all, there are so many parallel designations, and if you have to work out with technology, so everybody plays around with technology today. You can say so. A convergence between a CTO, CIO, and a CISO definitely is a need of the hour. So if the strategy, what probably is being driven by basically due to regulatory, which comes to the chief risk officer and gets driven by the basically a CISO, then what technology plays a major role in terms of execution of the same. Where the conversion happens is that these are the points which talks about there are mandatory audits which come as a part of 3 to 4 audits which gets defined by different regulators at point to point. So you have to really get equipped about your core systems, and those audit points have to be taken very very seriously. It becomes like an eye opener that your certain things, your house is not set in order. So if those things are religiously being addressed and being catered within a stipulated turnaround time, I think so major flaws in terms of reporting to the regulatory would not have a big problem, and one will never get scared of it. Secondly, managing all these together is something where a strong governance process should be. A governance person should be a part of the tech and innovation department as well, who is fully well equipped. What is the kind of policies that we have, the government regulated policies, like the cyber, now the RBI regulated 3 policies like information security policy, cyber security policy, information technology policy, and cyber security mitigation plan, which is basically are the 4 regulated plans which as per any company's guideline has to be mandated and signed by the board. Then only you can execute them, and the version controls have to be done every time, and an awareness has to be set, whether for employees or the so much so even the boards, and even for the customer perspectives. And if any partners who are doing certain engagements for you, like the software development or anything, even they have to be well equipped. What are the third party security guidelines? So this in a nutshell should have a complete framework of a end-to-end ecosystem which supports governance, risk, compliance, regulatory authorities, audit frameworks, and at the same time work in hand with business. So if this is not driven, then no amount of work would be done. So this has to go hand in hand. It's not that you can work in silos and suddenly you can come and impose, no, this is a regulatory requirement, you have to do it by next day. It has to be embedded as a discipline in us. If that is not done, then probably it's very difficult to survive.
Yeah, I think good view. I think while we do this transformation journey, it's very, very important for us. How do we measure, right? So we are investing a lot on technology. We are hiring new roles, as you said, chief digital officer, some of those innovation officers, and people are reskilling themselves on many technologies, many new business models. While we do this, we invest heavily on infrastructure, some cloud, and so many other technologies. To take care of one technology, we adopt new technology. There is one more investment, right? But ultimately, at a organization level, we have to measure these, right? So how do we measure? So Abhidali, how do you measure year on year? Are you really transformed? What all those building blocks really help you? Or are there any gap still, how do you recover that? So is there any science or is there any guideline you follow at your organization, Abhi?
Yeah, Prasanna. See, one thing I definitely agree with Ms. Cooley is that compliance, as she rightly said, has to be part of your entire digital transformation process, because we ourselves had some hiccups when we started with the process. We moved ahead and suddenly we realized that okay, there is some compliance which needs to be taken care of. We need to figure it out now before we go ahead or we move around. So yes, compliance has to be part of it, or the entire thing. Now, in terms of measurement, see, to be honest, currently the way we have decided to measure is in terms of the revenue that it will generate for our organization right now. To look at it from the perspective. From the other perspective is again time. Being a life insurance and a medical, we are looking at the time to issue a policy. So how fast we'll be able to issue a policy to a customer who has just bought it through an agent or through a banker channel or whatever. So those are the parameters internally we are trying to look at it. So once we are done with this, maybe a year down the line or more than that, we'll be able to have a clear picture exactly as to, in terms of investment, what it has given us back. Because right now it's just an investment from the organization perspective. So definitely. Now, in terms of people, yes, we will have to upgrade our people in terms of technology, in terms of processes, how they're going to work, because things will change definitely for them as well, especially the back-end processes and the customer service people and the sales people. So that definitely it will be a value add to those people the way they work, the way they process certain things. But in terms of uh, absolute value, it's only time will tell to us. That's what.
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
yeah. So Shoaib, you have views like how do you measure transformation on a regularly basis, or review how projects have reached, how businesses increase, or how number of customers increase, or how overall happiness within organization, outside of the organization?
Yeah, of course, you would have, the business KPIs, right? So because you need to measure how your transformation added to achievements that the organization has set. So that whatever you do from technology should add to the KPIs from the business part. So I would take that as the overall measurement that you want to do when you do this transformation, but also for transformation you should know when you start your transformation you should have a why, and with that why you want to transform comes a couple of targets and vision where you want to achieve, and you have to measure your transformation progress towards what the end state look like and what you wanted to measure. You can set your own KPIs, which is top down, but also look at the team KPIs, and in the agile world we call them OKRs, right? So how you measure yourself to become better in the next iteration, and that interplay of the measures from top down and bottom up should come together to make the organization go faster. For example, the OKRs on the agile squad could be the time to market, the quality aspect of the releases, how often you can release, how you improve that aspect of continuous improvement in your the application that you're working on. And top down, it's for example, when you do a transformation on cloud, the percentage of cloud adoption, the percentage of the automations that you have in every area, the percentage, but also some business KPIs which says, okay, how many of your onboarding is through digital channels, how many of those products that you are selling online can be also cross-sell sold to other products, for example. That's a whole set of KPIs and measurement that you need to have in place. But for me, nothing should be done without measurements, because measurements are not there to blame you, right? It's there to see where you are and how you can improve going forward. That's a difference, looking at, this, the measurements and KPIs and achievements around it.
Yeah, great. I think we are almost at the end of a discussion where each one of you told your own digital transformation story, right? As well as we taken care of new technologies, right? We spoke about what are those new technologies, how do we adopt, right? Pankaj and everybody spoken about how do we adopt new technology with a step-by-step process. What are those enablers, barriers we spoke, best practices came out of this group. How do we measure transformation, right? Role of a compliance, security, how do you really sustain organization when parallel similar kind of a force coming in form of, say, example, fintechs or another things which we discuss. I think last line, right? So what are those within 1 or 2 minutes, if everybody wants to just summarize, what is a digital transformation for you in a 2 to 3 words? Say, for example, for me, transformation is all around, say, example, innovation for a better customer experience and within and outside of organizational collaboration could be the one way. So over to you. Start with maybe we'll start with the Puneet and then Avita and Sohail. Yeah.
For me, just one liner for the transformation is the game changer.
Yeah, absolutely. Fantastic. Yeah, Abidali.
Yeah, I think the only thing is you need to do it as soon as possible. And you have to be, if there's nobody in the industry around you who have not done it, you should be the first person to do it, because then you have the first mover advantage. You set a platform which you can try to leverage on. The rules changes then.
Yeah. So
Method to the digital or the transformation.
So change is constant. So transformation is, for me, this is the continuous journey towards enterprise agility and continuously improving organization's capability.
Yeah, that's awesome. I think we had a superb discussion. Finally, from my point of view, transformation depends upon type of organization, right? So digital first or traditional or full of lot of tech people or full of lot of old-minded people, right? It's all about measuring your current orbit and look at what is your next orbit based upon what you have. And it could be something like a disruptive transformation like iOS or Android, which Google's have done it, or could be like game changer or challenging or something like a catching up kind of a innovation, right? Somebody has done it, let me also do it, right? But Avidali, that's really good to see that. Yeah, if somebody is not there, why not to try at least with, I think Pankaj has told, right? 20% of your investment goes into research or development. So why not to try? While you are doing your traditional or operating models, your day-to-day operations. So it's a combination of all, like Puneet has spoken about lot many things, right? Around compliance, security, digital transformation, business angle. So I think if somebody really views this overall session, I'm sure like they will get a lot of perks and incentives how to drive transformation at their organization. So good. So thank you so much for being here with me for last 1 hour and providing such a nice expert opinions, guidelines for a digital transformation. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Prasanna. Thank you.
Thank you, Prasanna.
Thank you. So